Thank you so much for joining us for another daily devotion. We're so thankful for that. And I just want to show you something. I've been making some of these daily devotions and I've been using this area in the sanctuary. And when I came out one day on a chair, this little rock was sitting there. And it reminded me of a few things. I don't know how it got there. I don't know who set it there, but I'm thankful. If that was you, thank you very, very much. Because it helped me to remember a few things. First of all, anytime I see a smooth rock like this, I'm reminded of that incredible biblical account from 1 Samuel 17 where David and Goliath meet, and it says that David went down to the stream and he picked up 5 smooth stones, and he prepared himself to rescue the nation of Israel from the oppressive enemy, the Philistines at that time, and how they were oppressing them and how they were taunting them and challenging them out to that one-on-one competition, that they were mocking Israel. And more than that, they were mocking Israel's God. And so David comes out and he has these smooth stones. And it's an incredible picture of redemption. It's an incredible picture of how God raised up someone who was the least. You know, if you remember the story about David being anointed by Samuel, you remember that Samuel shows up at their house. He talks to Jesse and he asks him about his sons. And like Jesse doesn't even acknowledge really that David could be the one. Instead, and even Samuel at that time, he's looking at all the brothers and he's thinking, oh, this is it. This is him. This is him. And the Lord tells Samuel, he says, you look on the outside, but God sees the heart. And he waits until here's David standing before him. And it makes you think about that God raised him up, who by everybody else's standards, he was just the shepherd. He was just the shepherd boy. He was just the younger brother. He was just the one out in the field. But God raised him up to use him in a powerful way to save Israel. In another way, you know, God has a history of using unique objects to bring about redemption. In the Old Testament, we see it in one smooth stone that David put in his slingshot, and as he slung that, it hit the giant Goliath right between the eyes and struck him down, and then he went and finished off the task there. You can read about that in 1 Samuel chapter 17, 18. But in the New Testament, God used another object to bring about our redemption, and that was the cross. That was 3 nails. That was an incredible torture that God used. In similar fashion, the people who grew up in Nazareth or in Bethlehem or in the area of Galilee, they all rejected Jesus, or many of them did, because they had grown up around him. They said, isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't this Joseph's son? And so they looked at him much the same way that people looked at David. Isn't this the shepherd boy? Isn't this just the carpenter's son? But yet God was working and developing the redemption through the great king. In Old Testament through King David, in New Testament through King Jesus, whose reign lasts forever. And so this is what this stone reminded me of. But it reminded me of something else as well. You know, it's interesting to think that what process this rock has been through to become so smooth, to become this rounded off, very, very smooth piece of rock. And you know, it's very interesting because what we know is that there had to be a lot of force or a lot of water, maybe slow moving water over a long period of time, or maybe fast moving water over a short period of time that did incredible work on this rock to make it so smooth. It's interesting that when David goes down to find a smooth stone, he goes by the stream, because that process of what that water is doing. It's no accident that in the New Testament, sometimes you get this picture that the Holy Spirit is alluded to through water. And it's interesting, isn't it? That God is sanctifying us, that he's taking off our rough edges, that he is using his process through the Holy Spirit and allowing the Holy Spirit to rule in us and live in us and continue to run. I almost dropped it. But the Holy Spirit continues to sanctify us over and over and over again until we conform to the image of Jesus Christ. So I would encourage you to go find a smooth rock. Go out by a body of water and find one that's incredibly smooth. think about the redemption of our God. Think about how he has pursued us and rescued us so many times, and how he's used objects like the cross and 3 nails, the empty grave, to bring that about. But then also think about what the Holy Spirit is doing in your life as he takes control, and as you allow him to move in ways, and you submit your will to his. And be reminded of how he is smoothing you out, taking off the rough edges so that your gentleness may be evident to all people. We love you. Be encouraged and continue to allow the Lord to do his work on you. Thank you.